Hi, in this assignment we'll be using Excel, our spreadsheet, to create an interactive quiz on women in computing. So the person taking the quiz will be able to read questions, select answers, multiple choice style, and will be told whether they're right or wrong automatically, and a score will be totaled up on a scoreboard. So quite a nice project, I think. So let's start. When you open up your file, you'll see that there are three tabs at the bottom. One says Welcome, the other says Back End. That's where all the information is stored in the back end, and we then hide that sheet, and then the quiz itself, where the person takes the quiz. So let's start on the Welcome screen. This kind of forms a splash screen, and you'll notice there are no grid lines. Well, I went to View, and I simply turned them off. And I also turned off the headings, the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. So if you click on View and then click on Grid Lines, it removes them. And you click on Headings and it removes them. You can even hide the formula bar if you want. So the purpose of this is to insert pictures, text boxes, to format it, so that when the user clicks here, they will be shown a screen that kind of introduces them to the whole thing. If I select all of these cells on the page and then I go on my Home tab, I can use the paint bucket to kind of give a background color. Unfortunately, there's no other option in Excel for putting in background formatting. So you usually make that a little bit wider than the screen so that if the user scrolls a little bit, they shouldn't need to scroll on the screen. Everything should be on the screen as it is. And you probably want to put in some instructions telling them that they need to click on the Quiz tab to begin the quiz, for example. So let's go and have a look at the back end. The back end is where all the questions are stored and all the possible answers are stored. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video now and I'm going to type in a whole bunch of questions over here. Question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to have possible answers. And I'll meet you back in this video when I've finished doing that, and you do the same. So you would do, for example, who was the first computer programmer? And then possible answers. You might say Bill Gates, Ada Lovelace. You might say it was Steve Jobs or Grace Hopper. So obviously the correct answer is Ada Lovelace, so I'm going to highlight that in yellow. And the reason for highlighting the correct answer is simply that it's easier to see. I don't need to read the question again. I can see what the right answer is when I come to putting in my formulae. Just make sure you get all your spelling right, and my formula bar is hidden, so I just need to tick that so I can go in there and type in Bill Gates. And you'll notice even though I removed the grid lines and everything when I was in the welcome screen, it appears in the back end. The back end can look messy because we're going to hide this at the end. Well, I'm going to give you a moment to go and type in some questions and possible answers. You can have some questions which are true or false, so they would only use, for example, the first two. You don't need to use all of them all the time. So I'm just going to use true or false for my next question. So have fun with this. Come up with some good questions, but don't spend too long finding really, really tricky ones. I would say make at least half of your questions easy to answer, and then a few harder ones so that your user has a chance to be able to stretch themselves a little. So I'm going to pause the video now and complete this. You do the same. Okay, so I've put in 10 questions and I've put in possible answers, some of them true, false, some of them drop-down lists, and I've marked which ones are true by highlighting them in yellow. I can now go from my back end to the quiz itself. When I click on quiz, you'll notice that it has automatically pulled through my questions. You don't type over this in blue. Only change the areas which are white. You must not please change anything else. So, how do we select the right answer? Well, if you go in here and click, you need to click on Data, so File, Home, Insert, Data, and you go to Data Validation, and you change any value, which could be a number or text or a formula, but you want it to be a list, and then the source of that list, you just click on that up arrow, and then you go back into the back end, and the source of that list will be the first questions there. So I select the possible answers for question 1, I go enter and OK, and you'll notice it now has some options there, and I'm going to choose the right answer. Choosing the right answer allows me to set my right or wrongs, and I just go in and I do that all over. So I click on Data, Data Validation, change any value to a list. Instead of source, I'm going to click in there, go into my back end and choose the possible answers, go enter, click OK. Human computers were men and women who performed calculations manually? True. And I'm going to go through and do that for all of them. So data validation, change any value to list. Instead of the source, you go and click in the back end, select all the possibles, go enter, go OK, and so on. Was designed by Charles Babbage. So just complete these, and again I'll pause to allow you to catch up and for me to catch up.